Next on our program is Ryan Cowley. Ryan, take it away, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tom. Good morning, afternoon, evening to all of you. As Tom just said, my name is Ryan. I'm currently living in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And basically, I've been in Person Who Stutters since I was about 6 years old. But the title of my presentation today is no fixing required. My stutter is my pride, and no, and I'm sure quite a few people could relate to this. Maybe some can't, but I guess it's like in terms of getting comfortable in my own skin, or in this case, being comfortable with my stutter. It took quite a long time, and and I remember growing up, whether it was it was early speech therapy or just like even through family or friends, I was always told that sorry, I mean, no one told me that well, I was told that stuttering is bad. Maybe not exactly like that, but growing up, there's so much negativity surrounding it, and it was pretty much just negativity for me for a long time. And it was implied that I needed to get over this, and but and as a result, I was really ashamed of my stutter for many years, until well into my adult years. And I remember growing up, I was more or less a very avert stutter. If I started stuttering, I would, I'd do some like sort of even kind of dramatic to make others believe that it was anything else aside my stutter. So for example, I'd be like, if I started on word, I'd be like, I was like, oh geez, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened there, and that, I'm ashamed to admit, was the case for me for quite a long time. And so yeah, but honestly, for much of my life, I never really any pride in being a person who stutters. But but fortunately, that changed within the last It was only recent years. It was all came to a head in 2016. See, like, see, among the many things I do, I'm a big sports fan, and I always enjoyed writing, so I amalgamated the 2 years earlier. But the thing was, like, um, for many years, I would write just opinion pieces, previews, recaps, and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that. But the ulterior motive to doing those kinds of pieces was that I didn't have to interview anyone, I didn't have to talk to anyone. But yeah, in 2016, things kind of came to a head because like as far as my day jobs went, I left a day job where wasn't my favorite job, but I was treated well. For a writing job that, long story short, did not work out well. It was a disaster, for lack of a better term. And yeah, so after that, I just found myself unemployed, and for the first 2 weeks, I was more content just to lay around on my couch, not go out, and and for lack of a better term, just feel. I was more content just to feel sorry for myself or make excuses on stuff like not to do. And getting up and finding another job or getting up and doing anything proactive was the furthest thing from my mind. But but after a couple weeks of doing that, because for me, I got like so exhausted, both mentally and even physically, that I just like I knew I had to do something. And at that point, with the being unemployed and all that, and how depressed I was, I figured, you know what, I've got nothing else to lose, so why not try something new? And that something new was was actually interviewing others, which at the time was, as you can imagine, a very daunting task. I had interviewed others, but via email, so which isn't quite the same. You don't have that personal touch to interviews, and most of the people who wrote back, no fault of theirs, only wrote back a sentence or two in response, so there wasn't much you can do in terms of quantity. But yeah, this time I decided, well, because my favorite hockey team, the one I covered, was the Los Angeles Kings, and of course, Toronto's 3,000 miles away from LA, so it would have been very difficult to speak to others and it not be on the phone. It really had to be on the phone. So it's what I did. I just now, so many times in the past, like when I met a situation where I have to speak in any capacity, I would often get really discouraged. I would just say, "Too bad I stutter," and kind of move on. And as far as I was concerned, like those times I took the easy route, but unfortunately, it really didn't. It didn't leave me with any sort of gain, so it was definitely frustrating. So I thought, well, you know what, conducting interviews on the phone will be difficult, but nothing worth having comes easy. So why not try this and even if you don't succeed, at least I can say that I tried. So the LA Kings were coming up on their 50th anniversary season, and I thought, well, maybe I could reach out to 50 former Kings players, and I could just download a recording app, and recite my questions into that, and also while I'm doing that, listen to my listen to classical music on my headphones, just borrowing idea from Colin Firth in the King's Speech, and so I did that, and slowly but surely I just found different former players I could interview, and I just wrote out an email template, like who I am, what I'm looking for, and the forewarning about my speech. 99.9% of them were more than understanding and patient. So that made it all the more easier. And it was just one of those things where the first 3 or 4 interviews were pretty rough because this was still uncharted waters for me. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't really prepared if something went wrong, but I got through those interviews, and I guess gradually, just slowly but surely the interviews got a bit easier, and I just found myself kind of in a groove. And after that whole experience, I remember and while I was finding a job, I met someone at the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and there was a woman there who was head of their audience relations department. So basically, people would call or write in, and you would respond to them, like whether phone, email, or social media. And she seemed really interested in getting to know me, which was a breath of fresh air for me at the time. And I figured, I'm just going to be honest with her about my issue with the phone, because even at the time I was very on the fence about disclosing my stutter in job interviews. I mean, it wasn't a formal interview, but nonetheless. And I just said, well, you know what? I would love to work in ICE relations. I'm very good. I'm very empathetic via email and social, but the only thing is like the phone. I can't speak on the phone, unfortunately. So, and I remember she was saying, well, you know what? We can definitely accommodate you if you want to do email and social media. And then I'm like, well, okay, I wasn't expecting that. So, yeah. So while things in my personal life were beginning to come together, things in my professional life were coming together as well, and it was all like, to use an old cliche, it was kind of like a perfect storm where things were like coming together, and I mean, happy to say I'm still at CBC all these years later. But personally speaking, and from my interviews, that really started to take off. It was that project where I interviewed 50 former players. It was something I never thought I would accomplish, and I got a lot of joy at that. I got a lot of not a lot of fun doing that. And all these years later, I can proudly say I've conducted over 400 phone interviews, which if you were to tell me this in early 2016, I'd be like no way, not even close to that. But I did, and I'm very happy, proud of it. But overall, it was just like, but that really started to like, it was during this time when all these great things happened that I really, for the first time ever, started taking pride in my stutter. And as the title of my workshop is, no fixing required. Well, there is no fixing required because I thought there was for the vast majority of my life in there. And no, I'm very proud to say it. Like, it took me a long time to get comfortable in my own skin, and I wish it didn't take so long. But better late than never. And even like during the pandemic, so like late 20, early 21, I even wrote my first book, called All the Right Words: My Journey as a Sportswriter Who Stutters. And the foreword was written by former Eddie Lack, who was a former NHL goaltender, who also has a stutter, which I did not know about, but until around the time I started writing the book. And those interviews are featured in my next book, Royal Reflections: Tales from the Throne of Tinseltown, and it's written with some great stories by the Los Angeles Kings Hall of Fame announcer Bob Miller, even as a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and that's how many interviews I did. So it was 60 plus interviews plus stories and all that. And recently, actually, I wrote a small book of poetry called Tongue-Tied and Bonafide, Personal Poetry of Stuttering, Sports Success. And the foreword was written by a friend of mine in the stuttering community, and I'm sure you all know him as Daniel Rossi. So yeah, yeah. So for me, 2016 was really a turning point for me. Personally, professionally, in terms of confidence with my stutter. For so many years I've hidden my stutter, but since then I've just learned to embrace my stutter. I'm doing so much, and it's like I've spoken at conferences, the Canadian Stuttering Association, a few times. Thank you, Eva. Sorry, one second. I'm just trying to type something here. Even last August, I spoke. I spoke at a day camp for children who stutter called Camp Now, which is at Temple University in Philadelphia, and that was really a new experience for me because, like, because there were kids ranging from like 6 to 16, and it was sort of an eye-opening experience because, like, because the only kids I knew who stutter were more or less was me and other stutters I knew at that age, and it was so wonderful to see them and talk to them and basically just tell them all the things that I wish people told me when I was that age. So it was really wonderful. And I'm going to be even a keynote speaker at the end of June. There's a stuttering treatment camp for kids and families in Albany, New York, at the College of St. Rose. So I'm really excited about that. And and also it's like in the last couple of years, I've spoken to so I think it was between 60 and 70 now, but like speech language pathology, communication disorders, undergrad and graduate programs across the United States, and just and just basically telling my own experience. So so I'm like, excuse me, so I spoke at Temple, University of Vermont, the Marshall University in West Virginia, the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, and so many others. So it's been a wonderful experience, and again, like I said at the top, like I'm sorry it took me this long to really embrace my stutter, but better late than never. And but you know what? This journey's mine, and it's been a wonderful one. And and quite frankly, excuse me, I wouldn't hated for anything in the world. So yeah. So so as I wrap up, the entire world stuttering network, optometrists especially, want to thank you all.